The Chicago wind cut through the alley like a blade, carrying the stench of rotting food and abandoned dreams. 8-year-old Lily Collins picked her way through mountains of garbage bags, her thin fingers searching for aluminum cans that might buy her grandmother's heart medication. Her bare feet, calloused and dirty, barely felt the broken glass scattered across the pavement. The setting sun painted the trash heaps in shades of orange and shadow, and Lily knew she had to hurry. Darkness brought dangers no child should face alone. Her foot struck something that didn't belong among the waste. Not the hardness of metal or the softness of rotting food, but something warm and solid. Looking down, her heart stopped. A man lay crumpled against the crumbling brick wall, dressed in torn business clothes that screamed wealth even through the grime. Blood matted his dark hair and stained his white shirt crimson. His expensive gold watch glinted mockingly in the fading light. And for a terrifying moment, Lily thought he was dead. Then his chest rose with a shallow, rattling breath that confirmed life still flickered inside him. She knew if the neighborhood gangs found him first, they'd strip that watch from his wrist and leave him truly dead. She had to act now. Before we continue, please subscribe to our channel to support our growth. Don't be the person who takes and never gives back. Subscribe now. Show us you're one of the rare ones. Thank you. Now, let's get back to the story you almost missed. Lily dropped to her knees beside the unconscious stranger, her small hands trembling as she reached toward his neck to check for a pulse. The moment her fingers touched his skin, the man's eyes snapped open with wild terror, unfocused and empty of recognition. He tried to sit up but collapsed back against the wall with a guttural groan that echoed through the alley silence. "Mister, you can't stay here," Lily whispered urgently, glancing over her shoulder at the darkening street. "Bad people come at night. You need to get up right now." The man blinked at her, confusion written across his bruised face. "Where am I?" His voice cracked like broken glass. I can't remember." "You're in South Chicago, in the worst part," Lily said, her voice carrying a seriousness that didn't match her 8 years. She pulled out her nearly empty water bottle and carefully poured a few drops onto his cracked lips. "Can you tell me your name?" The man's hand rose shakily to touch the wound on his head, his fingers coming away sticky with blood. When he looked at them, genuine panic flooded his eyes. "I don't know. I don't know who I am or how I got here." His gaze fixed on Lily with desperate gratitude. "Who are you?" "My name's Lily. And if you want to keep living, we need to move." She grabbed his arm and pulled with all her strength. The man was heavy, far too heavy for a child. But survival instinct drove him to help. Together, they managed to get him upright, swaying dangerously. Lily positioned herself under his arm like a human crutch, and they began their slow journey through the labyrinth of trash and abandoned lots. Each step was agony. The man's breathing came in labored gasps, and Lily could feel his weight threatening to crush her small frame. But she refused to let him fall. She guided him through secret paths only she knew, avoiding the main streets where eyes watched from darkened doorways. The silence between them was broken only by the crunch of debris under their feet and distant sirens wailing in the night. "Thank you," the man whispered after what felt like hours. "I don't even know why you're helping me." "Because everyone deserves help," Lily replied simply. "My grandma taught me that." They finally reached the edge of the neighborhood where small houses made of sheet metal and weathered wood huddled together. Dogs barked at their passing, and curtains twitched with neighbors' curiosity. Lily quickened her pace despite her exhaustion. half dragging the stumbling man toward a tiny house at the end of a dead-end street. Warm light filtered through cracks in the wooden door, and Lily pushed it open with her shoulder. "Grandma, it's me. I brought someone who needs help." Joanna Thompson looked up from her mending, and her weathered face hardened instantly. "Lily Collins, what have you done?" The elderly woman rose from her chair with difficulty, approaching them with stern eyes that took in the man's expensive clothes and gold watch. "Who is this man, and why did you bring him to our house?" The stranger collapsed onto the worn sofa that dominated their small living room. Joanna's stern expression didn't soften, but her hands were already reaching for clean rags and hot water. "We don't have food for ourselves, child. Now you bring another mouth to feed." "I found him in the alley, Grandma. He was hurt and doesn't remember anything. We couldn't just leave him to die." Lily's voice carried a pleading note that made Joanna sigh deeply. The old woman began cleaning the wound on the man's head with practiced efficiency born from years of caring for her own. He winced but stayed still, watching both women with silent gratitude. "What's your name?" Joanna asked gruffly. "I don't know, ma'am. I can't remember anything." Joanna let out a bitter laugh. "The promises of the rich mean nothing here. And you look very rich. Or very troubled. Probably both." She finished bandaging his head and stepped back. "You can stay tonight. Tomorrow we figure out what to do with you." Night settled over the house like a heavy blanket, after a silent dinner of beans and tortillas, where Joanna gave the stranger the largest portion despite her complaints. The man was left alone on the sofa with an old blanket that smelled of soap. Lily peeked from behind the curtain separating her cot from the living room. "You're safe here," she whispered. "Thank you, Lily. I promise when I remember who I am, I'll make this right." But alone in the darkness, the man searched his memory desperately and found only terrifying emptiness. His fingers brushed against the watch and accidentally pressed a small button. A soft feminine voice emerged from the device. "For Andrew, with all my love, Sarah." Andrew. The name echoed in his mind with faint recognition. But Sarah caused a strange tightness in his chest. Who was she? And if she loved him, why had he ended up thrown away like trash? The questions swirled endlessly, but exhaustion finally pulled him into restless sleep. Dawn light filtered through the wooden walls, waking Andrew with complete disorientation. It took several moments to remember where he was and why every bone in his body ached. He sat up slowly, discovering Joanna already moving about the small kitchen, preparing coffee that smelled of earth and cinnamon. Lily appeared with tangled hair and bright eyes. "Good morning, Andrew," she said, trying out the name he'd discovered. Joanna turned to him with an inscrutable expression, handing him coffee in a chipped mug. "So your name is Andrew? The watch told you that." "I think so, ma'am." He felt foolish basing his entire identity on a recording. "Look, Andrew, we can't keep you here long. People talk, and I won't risk my granddaughter for a stranger." Joanna crossed her arms, her message clear. Andrew nodded, understanding completely. "I'll leave today. Just tell me how to reach the city center." But when he tried to stand, the world spun violently, and he collapsed back onto the sofa. Joanna clucked her tongue and placed a cool hand on his forehead. "You're not going anywhere like this. You're weak, and that wound could get infected." Lily's eyes pleaded silently with her grandmother. "Can he help us, Grandma? In the garden or around the house? Then he earns his food." Andrew looked at his smooth, uncalloused hands, then at both women. I'll do whatever you need. I don't want to be a burden." Joanna studied him for long seconds before sighing in resignation. "Fine. A few more days. But you work." That day, Andrew discovered that survival in poverty was a full-time job. He learned to draw water from the well, a task that left his arms trembling and hands blistered. Lily laughed kindly at his clumsiness, patiently showing him tricks to avoid hurting his back. Despite the pain, Andrew felt strange satisfaction seeing the bucket full. It was real achievement, tangible and earned. In the afternoon, while Joanna rested, Lily took Andrew to their small backyard garden. She taught him to distinguish weeds from vegetables, talking about plants like they were people with personalities. "This is mint for stomach aches. These are tomatoes, but they're still green." Andrew listened, fascinated, realizing this child possessed wisdom not found in any school. He wondered if he had children, if he'd ever shared moments like this. But his memory remained an impenetrable wall. Night came again, bringing more intimate conversation around the wobbly kitchen table. "Don't you remember anything about your family?" Joanna asked, watching him eat hungrily. "Just feelings, fears, like I was running from something dark." Andrew lowered his gaze. "Sometimes it's better not to remember," Joanna said with melancholy. "The past can be a heavy burden. But he must have someone looking for him." Lily interjected. "Someone who loves him, like Sarah." The name Sarah sent shivers through Andrew, mixing longing with inexplicable repulsion. Who was she? The question hung in the air, unanswered. Days blurred into weeks. The stranger now, called cousin, by neighbors had transformed. His pale skin had tanned. His hands developed calluses. And he worked the garden with devotion. Lily remained his shadow and teacher, showing him how to bargain at markets and find value in what others discarded. Their bond deepened daily. Andrew became the father figure Lily never had. And she became the daughter he felt he'd lost somewhere in his forgotten past. One evening, helping Joanna shell corn, the elderly woman had a dizzy spell that alarmed Andrew deeply. "Are you taking your medicines? They cost too much." "I'd rather we eat well than spend on pills," she admitted with brutal honesty. Andrew glanced at the gold watch on his wrist. Worth thousands, but unable to sell it without risking discovery. That night he swore to find a way to help without exposing them. Then one morning, Andrew saw one of the suited men from his fragmented nightmares talking to the corner store owner. Recognition hit like lightning. He was one of the gate's group's security guards. Memory flooded back in crushing waves. The meeting, the cup of coffee Maurice offered with that fake smile, Sarah's words, "It's better this way, Andrew." The betrayal unfolded with brutal clarity. It hadn't been an accident. His wife and COO had tried to murder him. But with the anger came full memory of who he was. Andrew Gates, a man who built a Silicon Valley empire from nothing. The amnesia lifted like fog before sun, leaving him exposed to harsh reality. "Andrew, are you okay?" "You turned pale," Lily asked, noticing the change. He looked at her, no longer with confusion, but with intensity. "I remember everything, Lily. I know who I am and what they did to me." Fear flickered in her eyes. "Are you going to leave now?" Andrew knelt to her level. "I'm leaving to reclaim what's mine, but not to become who I was before. I'll make sure you and Joanna never want for anything." That night, Rose collapsed in the kitchen, clutching her chest. Andrew caught her before she hit the floor. "Joanna." Panic erased all thoughts of conspiracies. He scooped her into his arms and ran toward the street. Lily at his heels, crying and holding her grandmother's hand. A taxi stopped at their desperation. Hospital. Now. Andrew commanded with authority he'd forgotten he possessed. At the emergency room, Andrew demanded immediate attention with the voice of someone used to being obeyed. They took Joanna away on a stretcher, leaving Andrew and Lily in the cold waiting room. The girl trembled in his arms. "Everything will be okay, little one. I promise." Hours later, a tired doctor emerged. "She needs surgery. It's expensive, and Medicaid won't cover it all." Andrew looked at his gold watch, his only link to his past, and made the decision instantly. He left Lily sleeping and walked into the night, determined to turn that gold into life. An hour later he returned with a bare wrist and a wad of bills. He'd sold his past to secure Joanna's future. "You sold it?" Lily asked when she woke, noticing immediately. It was just an object. "Joanna is worth more than all the gold in the world." Andrew stroked her hair gently. The surgery was successful. As Joanna recovered, Andrew used a hospital payphone to call an old ally. A lawyer Maurice had sidelined. "Mr. Gates, everyone thought you were dead." The man's voice trembled. Andrew gave precise instructions for absolute discretion, preparing to reclaim control of the Gates Group. He felt like he was playing chess where his life was the king and his adoptive family the pieces he had to protect at all costs. When Joanna was discharged, Andrew took them home in a taxi, paying with the last of the watch money. The elderly woman looked at him curiously, noticing the transformation in his bearing, the confidence he now radiated. "You know who you are now," she said when they'd settled her in bed. "Yes, and I'm sorry for the trouble I brought. But I'm going to fix everything." She smiled weakly. "You didn't bring trouble. You brought life to this old house." That night, Andrew explained he had to face his demons alone. Lily cried, clinging to his leg, and he fought back tears. "I'll be back. You have my word." He gave her a small medal from around his neck, his only remaining possession. He left under cover of darkness, transformed back into Andrew Gates, but carrying the heart of the man from the alley. He walked toward the city center, each step a declaration of war against those who'd betrayed him. At his lawyer's office at dawn, Andrew cleaned up and dressed in borrowed clothes. The mirror showed a different man, more gray hair, deeper wrinkles, but a gaze filled with humanity that hadn't existed before. He was ready. He drove to the Silicon Valley mansion that once felt like home and now felt like a battlefield. The security guard nearly dropped his radio seeing him. "Open the gate," Andrew commanded, and it opened slowly, as if the house recognized its true owner. Inside, he heard laughter from the living room. Sarah and Nathan were toasting with champagne mid-morning, celebrating over his empty grave. Andrew entered unannounced, and the silence that followed was absolute. Sarah dropped her glass, which shattered on marble. Nathan turned pale as death. Surprised, Andrew asked with icy calm, "Andrew, my God, you're alive." Sarah stammered, trying to act relieved, but fear betrayed her. "Save it, Sarah. I remember everything." He cut her off coldly. Nathan tried to approach with raised hands. "Friend, we searched everywhere for you. You searched to make sure I was dead." Andrew dismantled their lies one by one, informing them lawyers were freezing accounts, and police were investigating attempted homicide and corporate fraud. Sarah began crying for real, seeing her world crumble. Nathan looked for escape like a cornered rat. But what mattered most wasn't in that room. "Where's Kate?" Andrew demanded. "She's upstairs." "Don't drag her into this," Sarah pleaded. Andrew took the stairs 2 at a time, ignoring her shouts. He opened his daughter's door and found the 16-year-old with headphones on. When she saw him, Kate froze, removing her headphones. "Dad," she whispered. "Mom said you went crazy and ran away." Andrew sat on her bed, keeping respectful distance. "Your mother and Nathan lied. But I'm not here to speak ill of them. I'm here to tell you the truth." He told her his story, omitting sordid details to protect her, but being honest about his disappearance and who saved him. Kate listened, seeing scars on her father's hands and sincerity in his voice. "And these people helped you without asking anything. They gave me life when I had nothing to offer. They taught me what real family means." Kate began crying and hugged her father, breaking years of coldness between them. In that embrace, Andrew felt he'd recovered the most important thing. They descended together as police arrived to arrest Nathan, who shouted empty threats while being handcuffed. Sarah remained on the sofa, defeated, watching husband and daughter look at her with disappointment. "Leave my house, Sarah," Andrew told her. "Talk to my lawyers. I'll give you what's fair, but I don't want you here." That afternoon, Andrew took Kate to the kitchen and prepared something simple, rejecting the staff's help. He wanted to serve his daughter, care for her, as he'd learned with Lily. "Can I meet them?" Kate asked suddenly. "Lily and Joanna." Andrew smiled with immense pride. "Of course. But leave your expensive shoes here. We're going where you walk on dirt." The trip south was a cultural experience for Kate, who looked out the window with curiosity and horror at the poverty. When they arrived, Lily was in the yard and ran to the car, Andrew lifting her and spinning. "You kept your promise," she shouted happily. Andrew introduced the girls. "Lily, this is Kate, my daughter. Kate, this is Lily, my other daughter." The meeting was shy at first. Kate felt out of place in designer clothes, while Lily observed with frank curiosity. "Are you rich?" Lily asked directly. Kate blushed. "I guess so." "That doesn't matter. What matters is if you're fun." Lily's simplicity broke the ice, and soon they sat on the ground talking about their vastly different lives now intertwined. Joanna watched from her chair with a satisfied smile. Andrew sat beside her and took her hand. "Thank you for giving me back my daughter. You saved yourself, Andrew. You just needed a push." Years flowed like water, finding its level. The small house saw transformations. New roof, concrete floors, an extra room Andrew insisted on building. But its essence remained intact. Lily studied medicine with passion, her dream of healing materializing. Kate graduated in architecture, working alongside Andrew at the Gates Group designing affordable housing. The sisters, united by destiny not blood, were inseparable. Matthew's hair turned completely white as he watched them with pride. But time, generous with wisdom, was stingy with health. Joanna began fading slowly, her steps shorter, breathing more labored. Lily knew her grandmother's heart was reaching its limit. The house became a sanctuary of peace. Sarah, Andrew, Kate, and Lily took turns caring for her, returning every gram of love she'd given. Joanna never complained, facing the end with the same bravery she'd faced poverty. "Don't cry when I'm gone," she told them one night. "I've had a rich life full of people who love me." "You have to see me graduate," Lily pleaded. Joanna caressed her cheek. "I'll see you from the best seat in heaven." Lily's graduation day arrived, and Joanna, against all odds, asked to attend. Andrew hired a private ambulance. When Lily went to the stage to receive her degree with honors, she found Joanna in the front row. The elderly woman, weak but radiant, raised her hand in victory. Weeks later, Joanna called the family for one last dinner. They laughed, recalling anecdotes, celebrating life disguised as farewell. That night, Joanna passed away in her sleep with a peaceful smile. The wake was crowded. The entire neighborhood and high society came to mourn the woman who'd united two worlds. "She saved my life," Andrew said in his eulogy. "Not just my body, but my soul." Lily closed the ceremony. "My grandma didn't leave me money. She left me an inheritance of love that never runs out." They didn't sell the house, but turned it into the Joanna Thompson Free Clinic, run by Lily. Life continued. Lily met Daniel, an idealistic pediatrician. They fell in love between hospital shifts and married in the clinic's garden under strings of lights. Andrew walked Lily down the aisle. "You look beautiful, daughter." "Thanks, Dad," she replied, and that word was the best gift he could receive. When Lily announced her pregnancy, the family prepared to welcome the new generation. The baby, a healthy girl, was named Rose Joanna. When Andrew held her, he whispered the story of how her grandpa had been found in the trash and how love rescued him. The clinic prospered under Lily and Daniel's direction, becoming a beacon of hope. Kate designed its modern expansion, and Sarah, now genuinely redeemed after years of humble work, organized fundraisers. Andrew spent afternoons telling stories to children in the waiting room. One day, Andrew walked with his granddaughter Rose, now 5, near where he'd been found. The landfill had become a green park thanks to his company's efforts. "Was it here, Grandpa?" the girl asked. "It was here. Here is where my life ended and started again." "You were lucky, Grandpa." "Yes, Rose. I was lucky to lose everything to find the only thing that mattered." They sat watching the sunset paint the sky orange and violet. Andrew thought of Nathan, who died alone in prison and felt sadness but no resentment. Life had put everyone in their place. The family gathered every Sunday at the clinic house. The table was always full, noisy, chaotic, with plates passing hand to hand and laughter shaking windows. It was an imperfect family, patched together, sewn with threads of different colors, but indestructible. On the clinic's main wall hung a large photo of Joanna smiling. Below, a gold plaque read, "Here we cure bodies, but we heal with love." Andrew looked at the photo, raised his glass, and smiled. He'd kept his promise, protected his own, learned to love, and left a legacy that would endure beyond his life. Lily approached and put her arm around his shoulders. "What are you thinking, old man?" "That I'm the richest man in the world, Doctor." As the sun set, giving way to stars, Andrew knew his story. The tale of the billionaire and the girl from the alley wasn't a fairy tale, but a lesson in humanity that would resonate forever. The eternal legacy wasn't money. It was love transformed into action, into service, into family. It was the truth that saving someone could also save yourself. If you enjoyed this story, we'd appreciate it if you rated it from 1 to 10. Support us with a like and subscribe to our channel, Twister Stories. Comment from what place you're watching us. Thanks for your unconditional support in every story. Blessings to you and your family.